Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here with us. Adding on to what Senator Hawley was saying, I think it is astounding that we are buying 600,000 barrels of oil and gas a day from Russia. Basically, this administration, because of killing the Keystone Pipeline and locking down the energy sector, they are funding Putin's war. And it is quite astounding to me that DOD does not seem to have a preemptive plan to stop some of this by supporting Russia, by supporting Ukraine in their efforts to thwart what Russia is doing. And my hope is that on a bipartisan basis, you will see more activity to stop Russia from what they are doing in Ukraine. Mr. Zakheim, I want to come to you on the nuclear proliferation issue. Some of the critics of nuclear modernization talk about it being unaffordable and that we have to choose between nuclear and conventional modernization, or between nuclear modernization and addressing sustainment and readiness challenges, which seems to be kind of a false argument, a false premise to work from, so in my opinion, but I'd like to hear from you on that view and what you see would happen if we were to forego nuclear modernization in order to concentrate on just conventional modernization, and how that would deter, what effect that would have on our adversaries.
Thank you, Senator. It would be dangerous.
Okay.
We're seeing it right now with Vladimir Putin going from a conventional conflict and then bringing in nuclear escalation by getting his nuclear forces on high alert. It is also not practical to accomplish our strategic objectives, which I've outlined as prevailing in one conflict. That is to say, a force planning construct where we want a military that can prevail in one conflict, like a China scenario, and then to deter a second type
let
action.
me jump
and
in
nuclear weapons help there.
Right. Let me jump in right there.
Here.
Talk about China's intentions and what they are doing as far as their nuclear arsenal and how they are trying to scale up. And if you need to submit that for the record, I would like to get your approach on that.
Well, I'm be glad to add more for the record, but Chinese military investment has been substantial. Their modernization efforts have gone along both with nuclear forces as well as conventional forces. I believe last year was somewhere around 8% growth, and that is year over year over year, and they are not saddled by continuing resolution.
Okay, and in that regard, and looking at what I call the axis of evil, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, I had pushed to get an amendment through on the NDAA for an NPR and keeping that. So the 2022 nuclear proliferation review, do you think that is going to adequately affect the aggressiveness of China and Russia in their approach in nuclear warheads?
It's an opportunity. The NPR is an opportunity to deter Chinese and Russian adventurism if that NPR supports robust investment in the nuclear triad and does not change our nuclear declaratory policy. Those are two big ifs. We haven't seen the outcome of that report, and I encourage this committee to continue the oversight to ensure we get the right outcome with the NPR.
And then I want to return to something that Senator Rosen was discussing with cyber. And she and I have legislation that would basically have a civilian strike force that would be utilizing talent that exist within our federal system to pull together. And I've been interested to see that Ukraine is using hacktivists and an IT army. And I would like a brief comment from each of you on that regard. And Ms. Connolly, let me come to you first, and then Mr. Zakheim.
Well, Senator, I think that's an excellent idea. We've already seen the European Union send in its cyber core into Ukraine. Ukraine has been a laboratory for over a decade of Russian cyber attacks and the implantation of malware. The more civilian capabilities we have can be very helpful. It needs to be directed, obviously, but I think that's a fantastic idea. We also have to ensure every American is practicing the best cyber hygiene because we all have a role to play in this.
We do, and Senator Blumenthal and I have legislation that would address that commercial sector. But our military and governmental sectors, we need to pop up a bit. Mr.
I would only add, I agree with Ms. Conley and support your efforts, Senator, but we need policies that allow us to use those capabilities. That has been hampering us for over a decade now, and that's where I recommend the oversight focus.
Thank you. I appreciate the